Bryan Driscoll, welcome to Pave The Way Podcast, man. It's going to be a fun one today.
What's up, man? How you doing? Glad to be here.
Absolutely, man. How's the weather in Pittsburgh? Are you guys getting that brutal heat wave like everywhere else in the Northeast?
It's rough, dude. It was like it's 90, but it's not like California 90. It's like so freaking humid.
Yeah, the Northeast climate. I mean, I lived there for a while, and you get those crazy seasons, but I'll tell you what, I really like the seasons. It's the one thing about California that's not great. Well, besides some other things, which is a different topic, but that the humidity, there's nothing quite like it, especially when you go down to Florida. It's brutal, but you guys will be in fall in 10 weeks. You guys will have that cool, chilly weather, and the leaves will be falling. So it'll be there sooner than you think.
Oh yeah, it comes around quick.
For sure, man. And then next thing you know, it's 15 degrees and you got to shovel the good old driveway. So this isn't a weather podcast. This is a real estate podcast. So Bryan, you are one of the kings of digital marketing in the real estate space. I've seen your company everywhere. I've seen you guys advertise, and I've met you at masterminds. You guys got a great company, Motivated Leads. By the way, that name is amazing. And today I want to talk about digital marketing and how investors can do digital marketing. And really the two channels that I know you guys are experts on. So we're just have this be a masterclass, and the listeners will be able to walk away with some great tangible nuggets. So before we get into all that, how did you get into the digital marketing space? Because I met you at Investor Fuel back in May, and we had some great conversations.
Yeah, so I got into investing back in the day. I don't know if have you ever heard of Upwork?
Of course. Yeah, I use it all the time.
So do you remember when it was Odesk before that?
Yeah, that was like 5 years ago.
Yeah, so I got involved with Odesk way back in the day, doing SEO. So I just started tinkering around doing SEO, charging like $20 an hour. I'm like, this is great. I got a side hustle. I'm helping people rank. We're crushing it because nobody understands SEO. And so I started going on there and I started making $20 an hour. Then I started getting busy, and so I just kept raising my prices, and I just saw there was a real need. And like most people don't understand how the search engine works or how to optimize a website to get traffic and get a return, right?
Yeah.
So that's how I got started in it, and it just evolved into a business. And then now we just specialize in just only dealing with real estate investors. Like in the past, I was dealing with large, like national e-com companies, things like that, real competitive. Now we're just honed in on real estate investors because I like it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Right.
Real estate investors are cool too. I mean, real estate investors can make decisions. They know what they're looking for, and it's not competitive. It's not like we're trying to rank for baby food all in the world. We're trying to rank for like sell your house fast in Pittsburgh, or just a city.
Yeah, right. A lot more localized, and it's a niche. It's a niche search for the most part. It's not like there's only so many people in a certain area really looking for that service. So that's exciting. So started on Odesk. Now you got a great company, Motivated Leads. Now let's just dive into it. So at the end of the day, with web, I call it web traffic. I sound like an old guy. You got SEO, which is basically organic search rankings. You got PPC, which is when you have a search engine that you're bidding keywords on. And then you have Facebook, which I know you guys really are a big fan of Facebook, which is when you're simply running ads on Facebook to have the prospects go to your website and then obviously fill out a form. So let's actually start with the conversion side on the website. So what on a website where someone wants to get a lead, in our business, what are some key things that you look for to make sure that website is actually going to convert the traffic? Because if you're spending money on a website and you're not converting, but you're getting traffic, it's very frustrating for investors because they feel like they're throwing their money away.
Yeah, and that's a really good question. So what I look at in a website is when somebody opens up that website, say someone clicks an ad that doesn't know who you are, do they know exactly what you're offering within 2 seconds?
Wow.
Of seeing that before they leave? What I mean by that is if you go on the website, like our local website here in Pittsburgh, it's just a carrot website. It's 412houses.com. If you go on there, the left-hand side will say, we buy houses, sell your house fast, we're investors. And the right hand has a form that somebody can fill out if they're interested. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to make it extremely easy for people that are motivated to give us their information.
Interesting.
Yeah,
you got to be quick with that. You can't be like, oh, I don't know what these guys do.
Well, a lot of people waste that space. Like it's called above the fold. So what pops up on your browser, like say on a desktop, everything that pops up on the browser without scrolling is called above the fold. And a lot of people waste that space. They'll have a big picture of a house with a little button. It's like, no, that is the most valuable space on a website. Have a call to action that's descriptive and an easy way for people to reach out if they don't want it. Don't make them go fishing for ways that they need to reach out to you.
Man, that's so good, especially too, because the psychology of a prospect, if they want to get their problem solved, they don't want to wait around. So if they can see right away, these people buy homes in Pittsburgh or in wherever, Chattanooga, Tennessee, and there's an ability to fill out a form on the spot or call a number, the above the fold is where they can do that. So you can capture that traffic versus having them bounce and then go to a competitor's site.
100%. And then that'll probably hit 30% of the people. The guy, the people that are like motivated. They're like, hey, I want to sell yesterday.
Yeah.
But then the other people, they're still motivated. Well, some are motivated, some aren't, but they're trying to find out who to even deal with or what their options are. So what you want to still have under that, when they start scrolling, you want to have testimonial videos, things that build your credibility, information that makes you look good. I see a lot of mistakes with investors. They'll try to make their website look like a really professional business, like a bank, that kind of would scare somebody off because sellers are looking for someone local, reputable that can help them,
100%. They can care less about you. They just care about themselves.
Right. And they're nervous. If you look like a bank, it's like, oh, they're going to come in and pound me on the price. It's not a real person. So if you can try to build personality through your website, maybe you even make a video yourself saying, hey, I'm Bryan, I'm in whatever city and I buy houses and here's what I do. And then here's what the process looks like. Even tell them that ahead of time. So by the time you're talking to them, they kind of have an idea what's going to happen.
Yeah. And then they're not like scared on the phone call. If they see a video where they're like, hey, this company's going to simply ask me some questions about my house and then make me an offer. Like that's exactly what the phone call is probably going to entail anyway, or the appointment. So they're not, their guard is less down, especially like with like cold traffic. Like they don't know you, you don't know them. And it's a little bit of like a song and dance until you have some sort of level of rapport built. So that's thing number one. Now, another thing I've noticed, and this is a very popular company now, is Carrot websites. So I use Carrot websites. You use Carrot websites. Shameless plug for Carrot. If Trevor Mock's listening, you're awesome, bro. What makes Carrot websites so effective? Because they have such a big market share in the real estate space. How come that's been the case? Because you're like, all the ins and outs of it. What about those Carrot sites makes them so productive?
So there's a couple things. The number one is ease of use. You don't have to be a tech guy to set up a site. You can set up a site that is done in 30 minutes and it comes with all the content. You just put your logo on. So I think that's one thing that really crushes it for them, because otherwise you have to go spend a couple of weeks, design it, get someone overseas or whatever. And I see guys do that. And then it's like a month later and they get a site that still doesn't work. So if you can get something for like $100 a month and you have a website working and you're done, you don't think about it, all that. Second thing is conversions. Like their websites convert like
every time.
Yeah. I'm always testing different landing pages. Like we'll test against Instapage. We'll test against Unbounce. Like we'll make custom landers. Their websites always outperform. Sometimes we can get a cheaper lead on a different one, but if I look to the quality, the qualified lead, Carrot is usually winning.
Yeah. And they've done it for so long, right? They've done it for so long. And those sites and some of the biggest investors in the country drive, tens of thousands of dollars a week of traffic to Carrot sites for a reason, because they work,
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, we do a lot of R&D and we're always testing ads. We probably put 5 to, I think one site, we have like 1,000 leads going through a month. Like it just converts, It
converts. And if you go, it's funny. Like if you go to like type in sell my house fast, any city in America, you'll see like the top 5, 6 websites are all, if you go down to the bottom, it's like powered by Carrot, it's like, there's a reason for that. Like they got a great product. And if people want to check Carrot out, simply just go to carrot.com, right? It's a great domain name too. It used to be on Carrot, and then they ended up buying the domain Carrot. So it's a pretty cool, I guess, domain to own. Unless maybe they want to get in the vegetable business next, right? Which would be funny because they already got the website. So we covered conversion. Now I want to start from the SEO side on the traffic end, and then we'll build our way up to the Facebook side. So SEO. So here, that's a buzzword that a lot of new investors, they don't really know what that is. what is SEO, number one, if they're not from there? And then number two, what are some practical things that people can do to, over time, I'm talking 4 to 8 months, slowly get their website ranked from scratch so they can start to drive in organic leads?
Sure. So to answer the first question, SEO is search engine optimization. What that is when you go into Google or any like Google, Bing, any of the search engines, you search something and they give you results. SEO is when you rank in the organic section, which is the free section of the results. So when you go into Google, you'll see like Google ads are here, and then they have all the other ones down here. The bottom ones are organic. And what's cool about it is they're free. Like you don't have to pay to be there. You have to, what the search engine is trying to do, and they're constantly evolving, but the search engine is trying to give the best answer to what somebody asks it. So to rank, you need to make your website the most relevant for whichever phrases you think are your target audience is going to search. Make sense?
That makes a ton of sense. So sell my house fast, Pittsburgh, sell my house fast, San Antonio. If you have content that's on the internet that is relevant to that search, over time, Google, Bing, Yahoo will bring your website up so that you can have that free slot at, 1, 2, or 3. Is that right?
Yeah. And what they're looking at is they look at a couple of things, and they have all these different signals, but the top ones are, they're going to look at your domain. Is it brand new? They're going to look at your content. Do you have duplicate content on your website? So we were just talking about Carrot. You can put a website up in 30 minutes. They all have the same words in the same order, and they just change the city name and your name. So if you want something, an easy way to try to help yourself rank, go rewrite the same content in unique words, like in your own words. Because think about if you're a search engine, if you have, say, sell my house fast Pittsburgh, you search that and there's 5 websites with the same words in the same order. How do they deem who's most relevant? You get a duplicate content penalty. But if you have unique content on your page written for the user, not just writing garbage to make unique content, you have a way higher likelihood of outranking all the people that don't.
Yeah, no, that makes a ton of sense, because there's got to be a way to stand out. If you have the same thing, they're just going to treat you all the same.
Right. And you know what? That's really easy to do, and most people don't do it. So if you do it, it puts you in like the top 70%.
Right. And then you got that traffic. And all you need, like with SEO, it's like you need like 1 deal a year to like convert, to like justify, either hiring someone to do it or doing it yourself. Right. Because like some of those SEO leads, I mean, we still get them to this day, are because they're seeing the Google ads and they're bypassing them sometimes, even though a lot of sellers aren't that savvy, but some of them are. And they're going to your site because you're number 1 organically. Those are the most motivated people sometimes. I mean, they're like literally coming to you saying, I need to sell this house, whether they call you or fill a form out. So now when it comes to the off-page optimization, as I've heard before, what I heard, you could correct me if I'm wrong, I heard backlinks are a great way to get your website to rank higher. What is a backlink? Because I don't even know what that is.
Okay, yeah. So we're talking about, so Google's looking at your on-page SEO, your relevance, right?
Yeah.
Then they're looking at your website authority. That's how important or how authoritative is your website. Well, they look at a backlink, which is if you have a link on a different website pointing to your website, Google kind of looks at that as a vote.
Okay.
So say you have a link on a different website with the anchor text, like the blue text that links to your website, says sell my house fast Pittsburgh, and that links to my Pittsburgh page. Google sees, okay, this link is saying this phrase, and the same phrase is on the page. It must be relevant for that. So if you do that, and you have to be very careful. So there are no rules with Google. Google doesn't technically, link building is against their terms of service, right? SEO, I believe, is against their terms of service. Like you can't try to manipulate the search engine. But what we try to do with link building, and if anyone's going to do this on their own, try to build links that are quality content that is benefiting the user, and reference your website in that content where that also benefits the user.
That makes sense. I mean?
Yeah, versus just spamming places. I'll see a lot of guys that they'll go on like at the bottom of blogs was a big thing. They just go spam blog comments and put their link, or go set up forums with links. Like back in the day, that used to work. We used to crush it with that. But like today, the search engines, no, they're looking to give their people searching the best answers.
100%. So what about this as an example? That makes a ton of sense. Now, what if you're doing a guest post, which is like you're doing a blog on someone else's blog, and the blog is all about, getting out of foreclosure or something like that. And you write a valuable blog post that actually helps people. And then within the blog post, you're like, if you want to sell your house if you want to save your house from foreclosure in Seattle, and then in that little kind of like, phrase there, you link to your website, that would be a relevant backlink, right? Because then the person who's searching the actual thing can click to your website, and then Google can see it. And that content is relevant to what your service ultimately is. And it's helping the consumer get information about saving their house from foreclosure in Seattle. Would that be like a relevant kind of example?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You want to just make sure you have, like, you don't want to be putting a link to sell your house in a mattress content. You know what I mean? Which a lot of people try to sneak them in. A great way to get links, go on podcasts, because your link's always going to be in the show notes. And like this podcast, it probably goes on like 50 different platforms.
Yeah.
And those are real, like that's a quality link that's legit. So it doesn't necessarily have to be in the blogs. It just has to be in a legit format from real places.
That's amazing. That's practical, and it makes a ton of sense. So if
A lot of people will, another way you can do it too locally. A lot of places, if you sponsor local sporting events or kids, things like that, they will link to you as a sponsor.
Oh yeah, and then it'll be right on the website. Sponsored by Pittsburgh home buyers.
Yeah, whatever it is. Yeah.
Interesting. And then that, especially with the local presence, like you're building all that up, and then for those keywords, like you're getting right in the mix there. You can get some results pretty quickly, which is awesome. So I want to shift now to the second, in command, I guess, which would be pay-per-click average search engine. We'll call it SEM, search engine marketing, on the paid side. So this is a big channel. A lot of gurus talk about PPC, and there's some great things about PPC, and there's some not so great things about PPC. So if you had to give someone some honest PPC advice, like for someone who's either getting started in the business or just getting started in PPC, maybe they're experienced in the business, but they've never done PPC. Number one, what is it? And number two, how do you optimize PPC so you're not blowing your budget and just getting clicks that are not converting, assuming you have a decently converting website? Because PPC, it's a whole vacuum of craziness.
Yeah, pay-per-click's really expensive in this space because there's only a couple spots, and we're in direct competition with other investors.
Literally.
Investors are competitive, and it's a big ticket item. So like on Facebook, we're competing against everybody. On Google, we're competing on specific keywords. Yeah. So you might spend I've seen clicks cost $100 before, like for one click, and you figure an average website has a 7 or 8% conversion rate. So you can figure out the math. It's so expensive on a lead. So it is insane. So if you're just getting started out, it depends. You have to look at your market. Like if you're in a smaller market, the costs are lower. If you're in somewhere like San Diego, it's more expensive. So think about it like you're at the craps table. If you're at the $5 table, you might only need $300 to be able to ride the waves and stay in the game for a long period of time. But if you're at a $50 table, $150, you're going to be out unless you get really lucky. Same thing on Google. You have to have a decent sized nut to weather the storm, because if you get a lead today, try to take it to close, you're not seeing a return for 45 to 60 days.
100%.
So you got to ride that wave, right?
Yeah, you got to ride the wave, and you got to make sure you have the right keywords you're bidding on, right? Because Google, if you put like the wrong keywords in, or you have a crappy negative keyword list, you might be getting all these clicks, but the clicks aren't converting because they might not be relevant to what that person's ultimately searching for. So, what is your advice on like for example, like doing a broad match campaign versus like a exact phrase match campaign? Because like those are two different things. Like a broad match is going to be more, obviously broad,
right?
And the exact phrase match is going to be more like sell my house fast now. It's like a long tail keyword where like that person might have more intent, but there's less people typing that in, right? Like, so it's all like, there's all these different nuances with PPC.
Yeah. So to answer that question, it depends. I'd run them both. Like normally it's weird. Like we'll build different types of campaigns and test them. One crushes it in one city, and it doesn't even work. Like that style of build out doesn't even work in a different city. So we're constantly testing. I would test all of those. I would say one really important thing on Google pay-per-click, if you're doing it yourself, you understand what a motivated seller is. So you kind of know the keywords. if you have somebody else doing it, like a digital agency or a buddy, there's a huge difference from someone typing into Google, sell my house fast versus sell my house. So you need to make sure you're not getting clicks for the sell my house people looking for an agent, because that will blow your budget so fast. Just because you're spending $40 for a click, someone is looking to list on the MLS. Like, and there's a lot of them.
Yeah. And you're like, man, I'm getting all these leads. They're not motivated. What's going on? It's like, you're having the wrong search queries. Like, they're literally like, you're getting retail traffic because you have retail keywords. So you got to be really clear on that. And, you really need to know what you're doing with Google, whether you're doing it yourself or you have an agency doing it. I mean, it is a black belt. I call it a black belt channel. Like, you really need to have your stuff together, because Google doesn't care. They're like, they'll spend your money in 2 seconds. They'll vacuum your wallet real fast if you don't have the right, system set up. So at the end of the day, when it comes to PPC and SEO leads, have you seen a difference in the quality, or are they pretty much the same deal because they're both going to the search engine to type in specific phrases?
I see SEO has a better quality. Before I even get into that one, if you guys are going to do pay-per-click on your own, a couple tips for you real quick. Turn off the automatic recommendations. Greg, you just made me think of that, because Google's job is they want to give you recommendations, and Google doesn't know that you're not trying to get the MLS people. So turn off the recommendations that they auto approve, because they'll change your campaign and add those things in there.
Yeah.
And then daily go through, it's called your search terms. You can see what somebody searched to actually click on your ad. Go through those on a daily basis if you're doing them yourself in the beginning, and see which ones aren't relevant and put them on a negative list. Like, keep doing that, because that will refine, especially if you're doing like a broad match campaign or like a broad campaign, that will refine that down. And what was that question you just asked me? Oh, about the quality.
Yeah, the quality versus the.
So I see on SEO a higher quality and close rate. We get a lot more leads from Google pay-per-click. But what happens is, in my opinion, a lot of the people that click pay-per-click ads will open up all your competitors also and fill them out.
Yes.
If they skip past those, you're more likely that you're going to not have as much competition. Just a different type of seller.
100%. It's a completely different seller. And when we've had people where they're like, oh, we're filling your form out. We got 5 others we're filling out. And it's, it is what it is. You can't control that. But at the end of the day, if you can get yourself on the organic side where you're like the only game in town, it's just going to make the conversion easier, and they're going to be less commodity shoppers. So on that note, to flip to the other channel, which is you just preach about this and it works well, is Facebook marketing for sellers, which people don't know that much about. It's not that popular compared to the Google PPC and the Google SEO. So how come you guys have found so much success on Facebook, and what are you guys doing to make these Facebook campaigns so damn profitable?
I think the reason we win on there is because we're investors ourselves. So like, we buy properties as well. Most digital guys don't understand. Like, I buy the properties, I'm dealing with the sellers, so I know what they're looking for and how to position things to keep everything making sense the whole way through the process and the whole way through the funnel.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Go ahead.
Yeah, a lot of digital guys too. One mistake I see is a lot of people on Facebook will put ads up because they want cheap leads, telling people, hey, we'll give you a home valuation or find out how much your home's worth. Those leads don't convert. Spend the extra money. I use our website to disqualify people. Like, I want to send people there, disqualify them, and only have the people that go through that are somewhat motivated, just because it wastes your time.
100%. And then you have to do more work for the same damn results. So when it comes, so the biggest thing I'm taking away from this is like, what you say in the ad on Facebook is so freaking important. Like, instead of having it be like, get an offer on your house or get an evaluation, we buy houses that generally, like, so you want to be more specific with the ad copy. So then the people who are not a fit won't even click it. And then the people who do click are actually like interested in that thing. And they're not just, going there to waste their time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because you figure on Facebook, it's a whole different algorithm, a whole different strategy. We're showing people ads based on their behavior in their Facebook feed. They're not searching for us.
Exactly.
So we want to be extremely direct, like, sell your house fast. We're cash home buyers. We buy houses, no repairs needed. Like, put those types of messages in the ad. They click it, send them to a website that says the same thing, then ask them like 10 or 15 questions to try to weed them out, and then count them as a lead. And then once you do that too, send them a text to book an appointment.
That's a gold nugget. That's a big gold nugget with the Calendly.
Yeah, that's huge, because back on the Google pay-per-click side, you're filling out 3 different websites. If you get them to commit and book an appointment with you, that kind of draws them away from what they're doing.
100%, man. That's a huge, people got to go back and re-listen to that, because that strategy alone will help you tremendously. So on the Facebook end, being more descriptive in the copy. Now, here's another question I have, because I know a little bit about the tech stuff, obviously not nearly as much as you, but have you ever tested doing Facebook form leads versus driving people to a website, which is a conversion lead? Have you tested that? And have you seen shitty results from the form, like more just idiots coming in the door versus when they go to the website, you know, they're a little bit more motivated because they're going to a completely different site?
Yeah. There's the 2 different ways, like you're talking about. Form leads, I don't do those at all. I've heard some people have success. It depends on your model. So form lead is, for anyone who doesn't know, the ads look the same in Facebook. So you're going to be scrolling through the news feed and you see sell my house fast. What's different is when somebody clicks that on a conversion, sends you to the website and they fill out there. On a form lead, it pops up a form native inside of Facebook. Facebook automatically populates the info that you set up Facebook with maybe 10 years ago. And they click submit, and then that's done. So a couple problems there. Number one, the people don't know what you offer because they just saw a picture of a house and then submitted a form. So we get people like looking at rent houses, all kinds of weird stuff. And also a lot of the information's wrong, but you can get really cheap leads. Like it might cost $125 to get a conversion lead. It might be like $15 for a form lead.
Yeah.
You know,
but if you have to get a bunch of form leads to get the same objective of a conversion lead, you might as well just pay more money to get the better lead. So you don't have to waste your time sifting through all the bullshit, you know?
Yeah. Or just buy a list, just go telemarket. You know what I mean?
Just go telemarket. Oh, on the list. Have you ever tried taking a motivated seller list or a seller? Not everyone's motivated, but a prospect list from like ListSource or whatever, and uploading it to Facebook? Have you guys ever tested that? And have you seen good results, or is that complete garbage? You might as well just go broad on Facebook and use the copy to disqualify them.
Yeah, it used to be good. So now, and this is really important, if anyone's going to try Facebook on their own, there's something called a special interest category for real estate, people into credit and employment. So when you're setting up a Facebook ad, you need to click this button. And what it does, it limits a lot of the targeting for you. So same thing on uploading lists. Normally when we would upload a list to say 10,000 people, Facebook would say, hey, we matched 6,500. So we know, okay, we got a pretty high percentage of match. We're going to show ads to those people and it's good. Now we upload a list of 10,000 people. Facebook does not tell us how many matched. So you're going blind. So you could have matched 6,500. You could have matched 65. And we pushed ads out behind them. Most of the time it's cheaper just targeting. And you want to make sure your pixels are right so you can like target and have their algorithm work. But most of the time just normal targeting beats uploading the list these days. 100%. In the real estate space, not all spaces.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, like you want that copy, like you said earlier, to really like be the mechanism to get them to draw them in versus using some like unicorn list from some company to like get lucky with some random prospect. Because I mean, we do a lot of mailings and stuff like that, and that's where the list is obviously key, or else you're going to literally blow your budget. But with online leads, you want the web to kind of disqualify the copy, to disqualify them, because you're going to get the eyeballs no matter what, because there's just so many people on social media. So have you found, when it comes to, I mean, you guys do this all over the country. So when it comes to like typical baseline expectations on how many leads people should expect to get a deal, do you have a general rule of thumb, or is it just very different depending on the market in terms of like, I need X amount of leads on a benchmark to get a deal, like just from your experience?
Yeah, we're 11% here in Pittsburgh. Most guys I see are 1 out of 10 to 1 out of 15.
Okay.
I don't see it depending more on the market. I see it depending more on the investor, like closing systems, CRM backup follow-ups, like the systems there. Experienced investors are going to close usually 1 out of 10 to 1 out of 15, which it's still a numbers game though. Like out of 10 leads I see, 6 of them are just garbage. Like they want too much money, whatever. They're no good on the MLS. And then 4 of them end up being like someone we'd want. We usually lock down 1 of those.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, because at the end of the day, no matter what you're doing, like not everyone is going to be a fit. And just because they came in through a website doesn't mean every seller is going to convert. But I've just found, and I'm sure you could back this, when someone's finding you, it's easier to convince them to do a deal versus you finding them. And we've done great deals from telemarketing. I'm not knocking it, but it's a different conversation. You have a lot more resistance up front versus when someone's going to your site and they're sharing information voluntarily. It's an easier conversation to have to qualify them or disqualify them, because you don't have to overcome who are you? How'd you get my number? How do you know my house is for sale? It's like, no, we know your house is for sale because you told me it was for sale, right? It's like, versus, well, I don't even know if I want to sell. Like, a question I have my team ask is, if we're getting a bunch of shit leads, is, hey, Bryan, how long have you been thinking of selling your house before you called our postcard or before you got our text? And then that question will pull the truth out. Well, I wasn't really doing that. I just got this in the mail and it seemed cool. It's like that. Wrong answer. But if they're like, well, I've been thinking about selling for 6 months and I finally got this postcard and now I'm considering, it's like, that question will pull the truth out no matter what. So, man, I could talk about digital marketing all day. So is there anything I didn't ask you that is relevant to people if they want to get going in the digital space as we start to wrap the show up?
Yeah, I would say if you're going to do it on your own, one thing that is so important on Facebook and Google. So Facebook has a Facebook pixel. It's a snippet of code that when you set up your campaign, they give you, put it on your website. That's what allows their algorithm to actually work. So I see a lot of people trying to do Facebook and they don't have the pixel, and you're just blowing your money. It will never convert for you. Same on Google pay-per-click. Like, you need to, what that does, Facebook pixel, and then there's an event you can put in there that allows Facebook to see, we send 1,000 people to the website and 100 people filled out a form. Once they get enough people that fill out the form, their algorithm can match other people with that, like put ads in front of similar people once they get the data.
Okay.
So huge. Second thing is also set up retargeting, which is the pixel allows you to create audiences. It's like when you go on Amazon and you're looking at a pair of shoes and then all of a sudden your Facebook feed's filled with shoes for a week. Same thing here. If you send Google pay-per-click traffic to your website and they're not ready, you have the pixel on there. Now Facebook can retarget them with your testimonials or whatever and build that credibility when they're ready in 3 months, because they were just looking right now.
And you're top of mind. They follow you around.
Exactly. So things like that. If you're going to test it on your own, start with a small budget. Don't be scared. Test different things. Like, even if you have a list, upload it and see what happens, because sometimes it works, Yeah,
so no, for sure. Scared. There's all those nuances you got to do with digital, especially like you said, the lookalike audience, because when you have enough data, like you said, Facebook and Google are some of the biggest companies in the world for a reason. They're smart. They have great AI, and their whole objective is most of their revenue is coming from advertising. So if the advertising isn't working, they wouldn't be in business, right? Like, clearly these ads, they work and they make billions of dollars a month for that reason. So, Bryan, this has been a lot of fun. I want to respect your time. So if people want to learn more about you, your number one, if they want to connect with your company, if they want to potentially be a client, and then if they want to connect with you, what are the best 2 ways for them to reach your company, and then also reach you personally if they want to connect with you?
Easiest way is just go to motivated-leads.com. That's our website. And then, if you want to reach out to me, just my email is Bryan, BRYAN, @motivated-leads.com.
And that's a great domain. Motivated. Let's say you said exactly what you said in the beginning. What do these people do? Motivatedleads.com. Well, you go to that website and within a half a second, they generate leads for real estate investors. So you're practicing what you preach, man. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome. Well, Bryan, thanks for being a guest on our show today. We'll have all this in the show notes, and we'll rock and roll.
Good stuff, man. Thanks for having me on.